Welcome, friend, to a quiet journey back through time, to a gentle day in the life of a shepherd in the year 1300. Here, on rolling hills beneath wide open skies, time moves slowly, wrapped in the soft sounds of wind and wool, sun and stone. Together we'll walk through ours measured not by clocks, but by clouds drifting, blades of grass whispering, and the steady rhythm of breath and heartbeat. Let yourself be carried by the calm, the stillness, and the simple beauty of a life lived close to the earth. Settle in, breathe deeply, and let the story unfold like the slow turning of the seasons. You wake before the world does. The stars are still scattered like spilled salt across the black sky, and the hills lie quiet beneath a pale wash of moonlight. Your breath hangs in the air like a ghost, soft and slow, curling into nothing. There are no bells yet, no birds, no human voices, only the hush of the earth turning silently under you. The ground is cold beneath your bare feet as you swing them over the edge of your straw-stuffed mattress. The wool blanket slips from your shoulders, scratchy and warm, holding the faint scent of lanolin and smoke. You rub your eyes with the heels of your hands, still heavy with sleep, and listen to the wind outside the cottage door. It whispers across the heath like a secret, rustling through the grasses, brushing against the wooden slats of the fence, sliding under the cracks in the walls as if to say, "It's time now." The day begins. You stir the coals in the hearth, nudging them until a few red embers blink awake. You feed them a twist of dry hay, a small stick, another coaxing flame from ash, with the patience of one who has done this all his life. The fire takes with a sigh, glowing low and golden in the dark, and you warm your hands, turning them slowly, feeling the numbness retreat from your fingertips. There is no rush. The sheep are still asleep in their pen beyond the yard, huddled together like stones, breathing in unison. The lambs, too, are silent, not yet bleating for their mothers. You have time. You cut a slice of yesterday's bread, thick and dry, and smear it with curds from a small clay bowl. The cheese is cool and faintly sharp, made with herbs you dried on the rafters weeks ago. You chew slowly, staring into the fire, watching it move like water against the blackened stones. There is rhythm in the quiet, a kind of peace in the stillness before the day stretches open. You wrap your cloak around your shoulders, rough-woven and heavy, and tie your boots with stiff fingers. The leather is worn and damp with dew from yesterday's walk, but it holds. Everything you own holds. It must. You step outside into the hush. The air smells of wet soil and sheep, of cold grass and wood smoke, of the promise of dawn not yet fulfilled. The land around you rolls softly as though sleeping still, blanketed in mist that gathers thick in the hollows and hangs low against the hedgerows. You pause to listen. To the creak of the trees, to the crack of frost underfoot, to the shifting weight of silence all around you. Far off, an owl calls once, a long, low note like a sigh, and then is gone. You walk to the pen and lean against the wooden gate. The sheep lift their heads in drowsy acknowledgement. Their eyes glint faintly in the moonlight, round and unreadable. You count them out of habit, lips moving silently. 33, all here, still breathing, still warm. You won't let them out yet. The sun isn't up, and wolves travel at this hour. Not often, not near the village, but still once is enough. You know how fast death can come on for quiet pause? So you wait, sit on a stone, and wrap your arms around your knees. You watch the sky, and slowly, so slowly it begins. A softening of the black, a deepening of the blue. A faint pink bruise along the horizon. The stars blink out one by one, as if shy to be seen. A bird calls once, then again, then another joins, and another, until the hedges are alive with small voices, chattering and trilling like morning prayers. The mist begins to lift. You stand, stretch, and roll your shoulders beneath the weight of your cloak. You unlatch the gate. The sheep bleat softly, pressing forward, their hooves clicking against the stone. You walk ahead with your stick in hand, your dog trotting quietly at your side, ears perked, alert but relaxed.
Ow.
You know the path without looking. It winds up the hill and across the moor, past the thorn bushes and the old well, through patches of heather and bramble. You walk it every day. And every day it changes just a little. The color of the sky, the tilt of the wind, the way the sun climbs up through the clouds. And so you walk, and the sheep follow. The morning comes slowly behind you, gentle and golden. The sky opens its eyes. The grass shivers with light. The rhythm of the day begins, not with haste, but with quiet certainty. The rhythm of a shepherd in the year 1300, watching the world turn from its sleep and into its long waiting hours. There will be rain soon, or not. There will be the sound of lambs calling for their mothers, the scrape of hooves on stone, the stillness of noon. The sound of the river far below. But for now, there is only this: the soft tread of your boots on damp earth, the hush of the wind in the grass, the shape of the world waking up around you, and you walking into it. By mid-morning, the sheep have settled. They spread across the hillside like lumpy, wool-covered stones, grazing with the slow, thoughtless patience of animals who do not measure time as you do. They tug at the grass in soft jerks, step, chew, swallow, step again. You know each of them, by the mark on their ear, by the curl of their horn, by the way they lift their heads when the wind changes. You watch them without needing to watch, your eyes resting lazily on the moving white shapes, your body loose with stillness. The sky is high now, vast and pale, like an overturned bowl of milk. The clouds move slowly overhead, drifting like thoughts not yet formed, soft-edged, silent, full of nothing and everything. You lie on your back in the grass, fingers laced behind your head, your staff resting beside you, forgotten for the moment. The grass is warm where the sun has touched it, and cool where the shade still lingers. It tickles your neck. Ants move through it like tiny pilgrims, climbing blades and disappearing again. You close one eye and squint at the sky. There is a long, thin cloud shaped like a crooked sword. Another looks like a pig on its side, or maybe a loaf of bread with a bite taken out. You don't speak these thoughts aloud. There is no one to speak them to, but you name them anyway, silently in the private way that all lonely people name the things they see. A bird passes high overhead, wings stretched wide, barely flapping. A hawk, maybe? You watch it until it's gone, until the sky becomes empty again. There is nothing urgent here. No clock, no ringing bell to pull you away. The only sounds are soft ones. Sheep pulling at grass, a beetle buzzing past your ear, the wind shifting through the tall weeds. In the distance, there is the steady murmur of a stream tumbling over stones, and farther still, the faint sound of a cart on the road to town. Wooden wheels, iron rims, the creak of leather and wood. You roll onto your side and pluck a blade of grass. Place it between your thumbs and blow across it, trying to make it whistle. It takes a few tries, but then a high, reedy sound bursts out, sharp and small. One of the sheep lifts its head in mild alarm, then returns to chewing. You grin just a little. When you tire of whistling, you braid some grass into a loop. You wind it around itself, then toss it into the air and watch it fall apart mid-flight. Nothing holds for long. Not here, not on the open hill. You stretch your limbs one at a time, your feet, your calves, your shoulders. The sun feels good on your skin, even as the wind keeps it from being too much. You pick a piece of old bread from your pouch, softened by the morning's heat, and chew it slowly. Grateful for each bite, though it tastes of little more than flour and time. The shadows shift as the sun climbs. Your flock drifts, lazy and slow, farther across the field. You rise at last, brushing grass from your tunic, and walk among them. You tap your staff lightly against the ground, making a soft rhythm for yourself, a private kind of music. Some of the sheep lift their heads to look at you. You nod, as if to say, "Yes, I'm here." You can keep grazing. You pause by a boulder at the edge of the field, one you've sat on 100 times before. It is warm to the touch now, sun-soaked and smooth, a solid friend in a world of moving wind and restless clouds. You run your hand across its pitted surface, then sit. You trace the lichen with your fingertip, small green shapes like maps of places you'll never go. You lean back and watch the sky again. Time folds here like cloth. You do not measure it in minutes, but in moments. In the way the clouds shift, and how the light moves across the grass, in the lazy spiral of a bug that never seems to land. It is a slow world, this pasture of yours, not an empty one. There are thoughts that rise here, thoughts with no sharp edge, no beginning or end. Thoughts about what the rain sounds like when it falls on wool, thoughts about whether the moon feels lonely up there, thoughts about God sometimes, not in the loud way the priests speak of him, but in the quiet way the earth seems to hum when no one else is watching. The sheep bleat softly. One wanders closer to you and nudges your knee. You scratch behind its ear and it leans in, content, the weight of its trust a small comfort. You don't say much out here, there's no need. The hills know your voice, even when silent. So you sit, you watch the sky, and you wait. Not for anything in particular, but just because waiting is part of it. It's part of being still. Part of passing the hours as the world drifts slowly on, like a cloud over the quiet land below. And the shepherd, too, drifts, not lost, but gently held by the day. The hours stretch long on the open hill, but you have your ways of folding them gently into something useful. After the sheep have settled again, scattered in quiet bunches beneath the warming sky, you return to your sack and pull out a small bundle wrapped in wool, right inside it. Your needle bone-handled and smooth from years of touch. A few lengths of coarse thread spun by your mother's hand long ago, and a strip of worn leather stiffened at the edges with age. You carry these things with you always, not because they are precious, but because they are needed. Your cloak, as always, has found a new hole. You noticed it this morning when you knelt by the hearth, the breeze finding its way in just above your elbow. The tear is small, but the wind out here has sharp fingers, and even the smallest opening can grow if left unattended. So you thread the needle slowly and carefully, moistening the end of the thread with your lips and twisting it until it passes through the eye. The thread is stubborn, it always is, but you coax it through with patient fingers, rubbing the knot tight with a thumb calloused from years of rope, wood, and wool. You bend your head and begin to sew. Each stitch is a kind of thought, not spoken, not urgent, but present all the same. You don't rush. There is no one to impress, no one to judge your handiwork. The thread moves in and out, like the breath of the land beneath you. Above, the sky remains pale, almost silver now, with a few slow clouds trailing their long shadows across the slope. A bee passes, buzzing low over the grasses, and you feel its hum in your teeth more than in your ears. When the tear is mended, you knot the thread and press the patch flat with the heel of your hand. It's not perfect, but it holds. That is enough. You set the cloak aside and reach for your shoe. The left one has a loose sole. You noticed it yesterday as you climbed the stones near the ridge. The flap of leather slapping faintly against your heel. You peel it back now and inspect the damage, tongue between your teeth, eyes narrowed against the light. Another repair, not difficult, but slow. You take out the bit of twine you saved for this, and a sliver of pine sap wrapped in cloth for glue. The sun warms your back as you work, and your hands, though stiff, know what to do. You think, as you mend, of those who have done the same before you. Your father, his father, the ones who walked these hills long before anyone remembered their names. You are not special, not new. You are a thread in a long garment, a stitch in an old sleeve, a continuation of hands doing small things under the same sun. Somewhere nearby, a lamb calls out, a sharp, reedy bleat that cuts through the soft air like a bell. You look up. One of the smaller ones has wandered a little too far and can no longer see its mother. You watch as it turns in circles, voice rising in panic, until finally the away lifts her head and answers. The lamb bounds toward her, clumsy and fast, legs too long, and they meet with a rough nuzzle, a rhythm as old as the earth itself. You smile. It's the kind of thing that makes the day feel whole. You finish binding the shoe, pressing the twine tight and holding the leather together with both hands for a count of 60 heartbeats. The pine glue is tacky, sweet-smelling, a bit like warm honey and bark. When you're satisfied, you set the shoe in the sun to dry and stretch your legs out in front of you, wiggling your toes inside their wool wrappings. They are always cold, your toes, but you've made peace with that. You make peace with many things out here. Sometimes in this silence, your mind wanders to places you've never seen. 2 towns with stone walls and noisy markets. 2 ships on the sea, 2 women in bright dresses and men with strange accents. You think of roads that go past the edge of the hills, beyond the forest, past the border of the map you hold in your head. You wonder what they smell like, those other places, what their fires taste like, what birds sing there. But then a fly lands on your hand, and the wind stirs the grass beside you, and the moment is gone. You are here. You are always here. And so you pick up your cloak, Now whole again, and pull it over your shoulders. Slide your mended shoe back on and lace it tight. You run a hand over your face and feel the stubble growing there. Rough, uneven, familiar. The sheep are still grazing. The sky is still watching. Doc. You pack up your bundle, tie it closed with care, and tuck it away in your sack. There is nothing loud about what you do, but there is meaning in it, in the needle passing through cloth, in the twine knotting leather, and the time you give to making what is broken whole again. You are a shepherd, yes, but also a mender of small things, a keeper of slow rituals, a steward of the quiet hours. And as the sun moves steadily overhead, you walk again among your flock. Light-footed and listening, patched cloak rustling in the breeze, hand resting on your staff, mind at peace with the rhythm of the land. By midday, the sun sits high, casting its steady golden gaze across the hills. The light is not fierce, but full, a soft, enveloping warmth that lays itself across your shoulders like a shawl, creeping through the seams of your cloak, settling into the stones and the bones of the land. You sit in the shadow of an ash tree, old and gnarled, its trunk hollowed near the roots like a listening ear, its leaves trembling gently in the breeze. This is when you start talking. Not loudly, not with any drama. It's just a murmur under your breath. Soft, aimless words to no one in particular. You talk the way someone might hum. Not because there is a song to sing, but because the silence invites a sound to fill it. Looks like rain come Thursday, you say, though there's not a cloud in the sky. Best mend the fence by the brook tomorrow.
Yes.
If the planks haven't warped again. Your voice is rough with disuse, shaped by air and memory, by solitude and straw-choked mornings. You speak in a way that's more thought than speech, words rising just enough to remind yourself that you still exist, that you still move within the skin of the world. Sometimes you talk to the dog. He sits a few feet away, nose twitching at the scent of something unseen, ears flicking with each distant chirp. You give him a glance and say, "Reckon that hare got away, didn't it?" He doesn't answer, but he shifts his paws and snorts through his nose, as if to say he would rather chase it again than discuss the matter. Other times, you talk to the sheep. Not all of them, just one or two, the ones with crooked ears, or lopsided tails, or personalities too stubborn to ignore. You shake your head at the ram who's climbed up on the same stone for the third time today. "You'll fall off one day, you silly lump," you mutter. "And then I'll have to carry you back, won't I?" But most often you talk to the wind. You whisper to it when it passes, not expecting an answer, just needing something to catch the shape of your breath. You tell it small things, what you dreamed last night, how you miss the taste of honey, how the trees creak differently now than they did in spring. You tell it that you remember your sister's laugh even though she's been gone so long, the smell of her hair is almost gone from your mind. The wind never says much, it listens. It lifts your words and scatters them into the heather, carries them over the ridge, lays them down in some far valley where perhaps another shepherd will find them one day, curled like dry leaves in the grass. Sometimes you sing old songs, half-remembered, lullabies your mother hummed when your feet were small and your dreams still fit inside a wooden cradle. You don't know all the words, but the tune is enough. The sheep don't mind. The birds tilt their heads. The dog opens one eye, then closes it again. Your voice drifts across the field like smoke, low, cracked, worn thin by the sun and years, but still yours. You speak not to be heard, but to hear yourself, to let the loneliness breathe a little, to know that even here on this wide and empty hill, you still echo. And on some days, when the air is still and your thoughts are louder than usual, you speak to those who are no longer living. Your father, mostly. You imagine him leaning on his staff beside you, nodding slowly at the sky. You tell him how the new lambs are doing. You tell him how the well keeps running shallow, and how you think the fox that took the hen last spring might have pups now. You don't wait for answers. You just say what needs saying. That is enough. There is comfort in the quiet rambling of your voice. Not just for you, but for the land itself. The trees seem to sigh as they listen. The rocks stay warm a little longer. Even the clouds seem to pause when you speak, as if reluctant to drift too far. By the time you fall silent again, the sun has shifted. The shadow beneath the ash tree is longer, stretched thin like dough, and your throat is dry from speaking to no one. But your heart feels a little fuller, your chest a little lighter, your breath sits easier in your ribs. The wind picks up again, ruffling your hair, tugging playfully at your sleeves. You close your eyes and smile. For out here in the open, where no walls catch your words and no roofs hold your thoughts, you can talk to everything. The sky, the sheep, the wind, the past. And all of it, in its quiet way, talks back. By early afternoon, the world begins to soften again. The sheep have wandered farther, scattered like fallen petals across the slope. And the sun, though still high, has taken on a gentler glow. Not as bold as midday, not yet the burnished gold of evening, but mellow and slow, as if it too has grown tired of shining. You settle beneath the same tree as before, or maybe a different one. They all feel like old friends after a while, each with its own crooked lean, its own naughty personality. This one has a hollow perfect for your back, bark smoothed by the pressure of your spine, and a patch of moss cooled beneath your legs. You stretch out your feet, reach into your bag, and pull out the thing you've carried since spring. Your piece of wood. It's nothing much, just a dry branch from the beech tree near the edge of the field, but it has the right feel in the hand. Solid but not heavy, firm but not stubborn. You've been working at it, little by little, day by day, letting its shape reveal itself slowly, like a story told in whispers. You draw your knife from your belt, the one with the dull handle wrapped in old leather, and run your thumb gently along the blade. It's not sharp like a butcher's, but it's sharp enough. Sharp enough to peel the bark in long, curling ribbons, each one falling soft to the earth like shed skin. You begin to carve. There is no plan. You whittle the way a person dreams, not always with direction, but always with feeling. A notch here, a smooth curve there. You pause often to study what's forming, tilting your head like a bird listening for seeds, then make another cut, trusting your hands more than your eyes. The wood smells sweet, clean, quiet. It sings faintly under the blade, a whisper of dry fibers parting. You shape the neck of a figure, a little longer today. Perhaps it will be a bird, or perhaps a woman. You aren't sure yet. Sometimes you carve animals, sometimes you carve saints. Sometimes you just carve shapes, abstract and strange. The kind of thing that feels like it belongs in a dream rather than the waking world. There is something holy in the act, not in the religious sense, though the church would likely nod at the comparison, but holy in the way it slows your blood, hushes your thoughts, ties your breath to something ancient and grounded. You think as you work, not of time but of rhythm. The small press of thumb against wood, the steady motion of your wrist, the quiet shavings collecting like fallen snow around your boots. You pause to sip water from the leather flask slung across your side. It's gone warm in the sun, but it soothes your dry throat as she bleats in the distance, and the dog lifts his head briefly before deciding it isn't worth investigating. Go on carving. Sometimes you hum, sometimes you stop and let your eyes wander to the sky. A cloud shaped like a spoon. A hawk far above, circling wide and slow. A beetle crossing your knee, bold as a soldier. You let all these things pass through you, like wind through grass, and then return to your knife, to your hands, to the curl of the wood beneath your touch. The figure is coming together now. You run your fingers along its edge, still rough, still unfinished. But something lives inside it, something small and quiet and shaped by hours. Maybe you'll give it to the boy who tends the goats near the stream. Maybe you'll leave it in the chapel near the altar, tucked behind the dusty candlesticks. Or maybe you'll keep it in your pocket, a secret companion for days when the silence is heavier than usual. It doesn't really matter. The point is not the carving. The point is the carving. The act of doing, the folding of time. It's the way your hands move when nothing else needs doing. Out here, you don't count the hours. You shape them. You shave them down, smooth them out, make them into something you can hold. When you stop, the sun has shifted again, casting longer shadows through the grass. You brush the shavings into your palm and toss them into the wind, where they dance for a moment before settling into the earth. The dog rises and stretches, yawning so wide you can see the pink roof of his mouth. A breeze stirs the hem of your cloak. You tuck the carving back into your pouch, not done, but more than it was. And as you rise and look out across your flock, quiet and grazing, and the golden hills that cradle them, you feel the afternoon ease into its next chapter, slower, deeper, touched by wood and blade and the old, forgotten art of simply passing time. As the sun begins its slow descent toward the rim of the hills, the air grows quieter, not silent, but hushed, as if the land itself has taken a breath and is holding it, waiting to see how the light will change. You sit once more, not to rest this time, but simply to listen. There is always something to hear. At first, it's the sheep, their hooves tapping against stone, their soft, steady chewing, the occasional snort or bleat, brief and round, like a question that doesn't need an answer. Then comes the wind, brushing against your ear like a wool-wrapped whisper, bending grasses, nudging branches, tugging gently at the folds of your cloak. You close your eyes. The world opens wider when you do. You hear the buzz of a fly as it dances past your cheek, the low, sleepy hum of its wings drawing circles in the warm air. You hear the flutter of birds settling into hedges, their feathers rustling like paper against bark. A lark sings somewhere near the rise, its notes high and clear, each one a delicate bead dropped into a bowl of golden sky. The longer you listen, the more you notice. There's a soft creak from the tree behind you, a slow, yawning stretch of old wood. There's a stone sliding a little downhill under the weight of a sheep's careless foot. There's the sudden flap of wings overhead, a pigeon or dove, startled into flight, and the hollow echo of its wing beats against the curve of the land. All of it together, it makes a kind of music. Not the music of fiddles or flutes, not the grand hymns you hear in church, but a quieter kind. One you can only hear when you stop trying to find it. The music of small things moving slowly. The music of the earth remembering its breath. You wonder if the land has a voice of its own, or if what you hear is simply your own stillness, made louder by the absence of men. You shift your weight and hear the crackle of dry grass beneath you. You run your fingers along the ground and hear the faint rasp of stalks breaking. Even your heartbeat begins to sound like part of it, steady and soft, like a distant drum hidden beneath the soil. The dog hears things too. You can tell. His ears twitch, his nose lifts. His body tenses for a moment before relaxing again. He understands this quiet, just as you do. Knows which rustle means fox, which whistle means wind, which snap of twig means a deer is watching from the thicket. He's listening, always, even when he sleeps. You think about the sounds you don't hear anymore. Your mother humming as she stirred the pot, the splash of your brother diving into the stream, the call of your name from across a barley field in the spring. Those sounds live somewhere deep inside your chest, folded into your ribs like old letters. But out here there are new sounds every day. A cricket tuning its legs like a harp. It's a sigh of a distant tree letting go of its first yellow leaf. The burble of the stream far below, speaking in its soft, stony tongue. You imagine if you could lie still long enough, you might hear the grass growing, or the hills breathing, or the sheep dreaming. There's a sound like thunder very far off. Not the crack of a storm, but the low rumble of hooves from the valley road. A farmer bringing cattle home, or maybe a cart returning from the village. You hear the iron of its wheels squeal briefly as it turns through a rut, then fade again into the folds of distance. The sun is lower now. The light has changed. Everything is gold. Not bright, not harsh, but soaked in that thick, honey-colored hush that comes only once a day if the weather's kind. The sheep are beginning to huddle closer, sensing the evening before it fully arrives. You take a breath and hold it. And even that has sound. The wind in your lungs, the quiet hum of your own being. The simple proof that you are still here, still listening. The land says nothing clearly. It does not shout, doesn't sing in words, but it speaks in its own way. It speaks through bark and breeze, through buzzing wings and distant carts, through the shift of hooves on loose stones, and the rustle of a tree deciding to let go of something old. And you, the shepherd, are its listener, its witness, its companion in the long, slow telling of the day. Evening comes slowly in the hills, doesn't fall all at once like a curtain, but slips in gradually like ink spreading through water, staining the light with a richer hue. The sky deepens, from pale gold to copper, from copper to a quiet plum. The edges of the world begin to blur, softening under the hush of dusk. You sit where you always do when the light begins to fade. On the flat stone near the tree line, the one that holds the sun's warmth long after the air has cooled. You lean your back against it and close your eyes, letting the warmth seep into you like memory. The dog curls up nearby, chin resting on his paws, eyes blinking slow and sleepy. The sheep begin to cluster together, not in fear, but out of a shared knowing that the day is ending and the night, with all its stars and silence, is near. A few let out short, questioning bleats, and you answer them with a low whistle, barely more than breath. They settle again. Trust you. You reach into your sack and pull out your evening bread, coarse and cracked, flecked with seeds, wrapped in linen that once belonged to your mother's apron. It's not fresh, but it's yours. You tear it in half, then in half again. One piece for now, one for later, one for the dog, who lifts his head just long enough to take it from your hand without moving his body. His teeth are gentle, his eyes grateful. You eat slowly. There's no hurry in this hour. The world has tilted into stillness, and you follow. Each bite is a small meditation. The crust crunches, and the inside is dry but filling. You chew with the care of someone who knows what it costs to have something solid in your stomach at day's end. There's a bit of hard cheese left in your pouch, wrapped in waxed cloth, speckled with herbs. You break off a piece and tuck it into your cheek, letting it soften as you chew. It tastes of time and smoke and the past. You don't always eat much. The body learns over time how to live with less. But you savor it. The food, the quiet, the feeling of the day settling around you like a blanket. The dog finishes his share and licks his paws contentedly. A few of the sheep wander closer, noses twitching, but you shoo them gently away. They've had their fill of grass. The light is fading faster now. You watch the line of shadow creep across the grass, swallowing the green, turning it gray, then silver. The sky above holds the last blush of the sun, a faint streak of rose stretched thin and long across the western horizon. The first star appears, almost timidly, as though unsure whether it's too early to be seen. You feel your own weight shifting, from day into night, from action into rest. You finish the last of your bread and brush the crumbs from your lap. The dog rises and circles once before lying back down, sighing as he does. The sheep are quiet now, as the air is cooled. The wind carries a different scent, damp, earthy, like river stones and far-off smoke. Someone's fire, maybe miles away, curling up from a chimney or a cooking pot. You rest your hands on your knees and breathe deeply. This is the moment you love most, the last of the light, the pause between what has passed and what has not yet begun. In this narrow crack between times, you feel most yourself. Most whole. The bread in your belly, the dog at your side, the land all around you. It is enough. No words are needed now. No tools, no task. Only presence. Is only stillness. Only the quiet companionship of fading light and rising stars, and the knowledge that you have done what was needed, and that the world, in its small and sacred way, is continuing to turn. Night settles softly over the hills, wrapping the world in a deep velvet cloak studded with flickering points of light. The sky is no longer a pale bowl, but a vast, endless dome painted in the deepest blues and inky blacks, where stars shimmer like distant lanterns carried by unseen hands. You lie back on the soft earth, arms stretched behind your head, and feel the coolness seep into your cloak, through your skin, and down to your very bones. The dog rests quietly beside you, his breathing slow and steady, a warm pulse in the chill air. The sheep are clustered close together now, huddled for warmth and comfort. Their soft murmurs like whispers in a vast cathedral of night. Their breath rises in gentle clouds, fading quickly into the clear air. Above you, the stars begin their slow, silent dance. You watch as the familiar patterns emerge, one by one, like old friends stepping into the light. Orion stands tall and proud, his belt of 3 bright stars shining like a soldier's sword. The Great Bear turns slowly in the sky, a silent sentinel guarding the night. The Milky Way stretches across the heavens, a hazy river of light that seems to flow forever. You trace the shapes with your eyes, naming them in your mind. Not because you must, but because it feels like a conversation. A way to connect your small earthbound life to something vast and eternal. The night smells of cold earth and distant pine, of damp moss, and the faint trace of smoke carried on a soft breeze. You listen to the quiet, the subtle rustle of night insects stirring, the distant hoot of an owl, the gentle shifting of your dog as he moves in his sleep. Your thoughts drift as slowly as the stars move across the sky. You think of the days past, the moments small and large, the work done under sun and wind. You think of the people no longer with you, your family, your friends, faces blurred by time, but warm in memory. You think of the land itself, ancient and enduring, holding your footsteps and your stories within its folds. And as you lie there beneath the immense and shining sky, you feel a peace deeper than words. The world is quiet, the night is vast, and you, a shepherd in the year 1300, are a small light in the great, unfolding darkness, steady, calm, and full of patient watchfulness. Soon you will rise and make your way back to the small cottage, to the hearth that waits with its promise of warmth and rest. But for now, you remain, a witness to the stars, a keeper of the night's gentle secrets. And in this stillness, there is a kind of grace. There are no books out here, not a single page to flip in the open air, and yet every hour is full of quiet learning. You do not read with your eyes, but with your body. You study the wind, the slope of the hills, the rhythm of hooves against the grass. Become a student of the world, not by chasing knowledge, by sitting still enough for it to settle softly on your shoulders. You have learned over time to know the moods of the sky. The sharp brightness of a morning sun that brings heat too quickly, the slow silver weight of clouds that build and build before bursting. You've come to sense when a storm is far off, or when it hides behind the hills, crouched and waiting. You can taste it in the breeze, smell it in the moss. The land tells you what is coming, not with urgency, but with patience. The sheep teach you to, in their quiet way. Not with words, but with movement and stillness. A twitch of the ear, a sudden ripple through the flock. These things say more than shouting ever could. They tell you when something is wrong, when a wolf lingers beyond the trees, or when one among them feels poorly. You become attuned to their world until it feels as though your heart beats in time with theirs. And then there are the smaller things. The flicker of a lark darting low over the grass, the tiny footprints of a fox left in the morning dew, the way a spider repairs her web at dawn, delicate threads strung like silver stitches across the empty air. These are your tutors, your chalkboards, your scrolls. Each moment offers a lesson, if your mind is quiet enough to hear it. There is also learning in repetition. It's the same tasks, again and again. Mending a fence, rewrapping worn leather, patching a tear in your cloak. These things do not bore you. They give shape to the days. They remind you that life, like wool, is spun slowly. You take pride in the carefulness of your fingers, the steadiness of your grip. You may not know letters, but your hands know stories. Sometimes you trace the land with your steps, as if walking it might help you memorize it. The slope of the ridges, the way the grass changes color near the stream, the hidden hollows where mushrooms bloom. There is no end to the learning here, and there is no rush. The world does not need to be conquered or cataloged. It only needs to be watched. And in that watching, you begin to understand that nothing is truly still. The leaves shift, the sun arcs, the sheep breathe. Even silence hums with motion. In the village, they sometimes mock your quiet ways. They call you simple, half-mad, too long in the hills. But you know better. You know that watching is a kind of wisdom, that the earth has its own language, that not every truth is loud. So you continue. You sit among your sheep as the afternoon deepens and the shadows stretch long across the grass. You hum a tuneless song to yourself and let your eyes wander slowly over the horizon. You are not trying to find anything. You are only trying to see. And in seeing, you learn more than you ever expected. There is peace in that, a peace that cannot be taught, only felt. A quiet kind of knowing that settles over you like dusk, gentle and complete. The hills begin to soften, like loaves left under linen. Edges blur. Shadows stretch and mingle until the whole world feels wrapped in wool. You feel it long before the sky darkens, the stillness that settles over the land when the sun prepares to leave. It is not silence, not really. Birds are quieter, yes, and the sheep lie down one by one, but the hush is deeper than that. It is a kind of surrender, the world letting go of the day. You rise slowly, joints creaking, limbs heavy from sitting too long in one place. The fire you laid earlier is ready now, and with a bit of dry moss and patient breath, it wakes with a sigh. Thin smoke coils upward, searching for stars that have not yet arrived. You hold your hands to the flame, not so much for warmth, though the air is cooling, but for the company. Fire is a kind of companion out here. It crackles when you speak to it, listens when you don't. Your supper is simple. Bit of hard cheese, crust of bread softened with water, a sliver of onion wrapped in cloth since morning. You eat slowly, not out of ceremony, but because there is nowhere to hurry to. Your thoughts wander between bites, to the away that limped this morning, to the patch of wild thyme you found near the brook, to a dream you had last week that still lingers at the corners of your memory. Above you, the stars begin to appear one by one, hesitant at first, the kind of stars that feel older than time. It's not bright and blinking, but soft, steady. You've come to know their rhythms too. You know which constellations rise early, which keep company with the moon, which fade before the sun returns. You do not name them, not with Latin or stories of gods, but you know them by feeling, by the way they move across your sleeping hours. Tonight the moon is a sliver, thin as a thread, enough to light the tops of the grass, to silver the wool of the sheep. They are huddled now, some still chewing, most quiet. You move among them gently, checking for wounds, for restlessness, for signs that something unseen has come too close. But all is calm. They breathe with slow bellies, content in the cool. You settle down near them, blanket wrapped around your shoulders, back against a low stone wall that still holds the heat of the day. The fire crackles behind you, small and steady, a heartbeat of flame. Somewhere nearby, an owl calls once, low and hollow. You do not startle, you know her voice. She's lived in the trees just over the hill for as long as you've been watching. Sometimes, in this hour, you speak aloud. It's not to anyone exactly, though perhaps the hills are listening. You say things you don't say to the villagers. It's things like, I'm tired today, or I miss my brother, or I wonder if the stars ever wish they were sheep, just once, so they could lie on the grass and sleep without burning. There is no one to answer you, and that's all right. You speak for the rhythm of it, for the shape the words make in the dark. Other times, you say nothing at all. You let your thoughts drift like smoke, curling into the folds of the night. You let your breathing match the slow rise and fall of the sheep around you, and eventually your eyes begin to close. Sleep comes gently here, not like it does in the village with its dogs barking and doors creaking and people always asking things of you. Out here, sleep comes like a woolen cloak, like something familiar you forgot you owned. It covers you, not all at once, but in patches. First your feet, then your knees, then your heart. And just before you drift off, you think of tomorrow. Of another sunrise over these same hills, another bowl of oats, another pebble under your heel, another day of slow walking and watching and waiting and learning. And though nothing will change, not really, you find yourself grateful. Grateful for the slowness, grateful for the stars, grateful for the way the world holds you, even when you think you are alone. And then the night takes you, gently, not like a thief, but like a friend, wrapping you in darkness, in quiet, in rest. And you sleep there, beneath the stars, a shepherd in the year 1300, dreaming the same ancient dreams your ancestors once did, of wind through tall grass, of firelight, of sheep that never wander. Thank you for sharing this quiet day with the shepherd, for walking softly through hills touched by sun and shadow, for listening to the gentle music of a time long past. May the calm you found here carry you gently into rest, as steady and sure as the stars that watch over the night. Until we meet again, may your dreams be soft, your heart peaceful, and your sleep deep and renewing. Good night and sleep well.